I'm Bruce Canfield. I'm a collector, historian, student of the subject, and author on U.S. military firearms. The Luger has always been a very popular collectible. There's some that are fairly common, there's some that are extremely rare, but at the upper end of the spectrum, the .45 Luger is arguably the rarest specimen. There were two trial Lugers made in 1907 by George Luger because the American government had decided soon after the turn of the 20th century that they needed a .45 semi-automatic handgun, and there wasn't one available. So the Ordnance Department solicited submissions from various inventors and companies to come up with a semi-automatic, reliable handgun chambered for the .45 ACP, which is automatic Colt pistol cartridge. Colt and Savage and several other domestic arms makers developed guns that they submitted for a test, and George Luger brought two Lugers over from Germany that he had just developed. Normally his were chambered for the 9mm or the 7.65mm cartridge, but in order to conform with the U.S. requirements for the testing, they had to be in .45 caliber. He modified his guns to take the .45 caliber cartridge. What the Ordnance Department wanted was for the inventors to bring one or two samples for them to look at, and if it showed promise, then they would want them to submit maybe 200 so they could be field tested at some length. For some reason, Luger wasn't real enamored with the reception that he got with the American government, so he took his Lugers back home. After he got there, he got cabled by the United States War Department to construct 200 of the pistols to bring back for more extensive trial testing. Well, about that same time, he got word that the German government was going to be placing very large orders for his pistol, so he decided that he'd rather concentrate on making guns for Germany rather than make some guns hoping they might be adopted by the U.S. So he essentially dropped out of the testing. That was the end of the Luger's possibility of being the U.S. service pistol. Of course, it made the existing .45 Lugers extremely rare because other than the prototype versions, none were made. The two that were actually submitted for evaluation by the Ordnance Department were serial numbered 1 and 2. There was at least one other one made that it is speculated that there was a backup pistol needed in case one of the first two failed. The pistol here at the Norton Art Gallery is clearly identical to the two test pieces. It is not serial numbered, which would make sense because if it was intended to be a backup piece in case of failure of one of the other two guns, it would need a serial number. But it has all of the attributes, all of the markings. It has the entwined GL for George Luger marking on back. The gun is in extremely good condition. It has been fired some, but it's been very well maintained. For a Luger collector, this is the holy grail.